In this video, we're going to take a look at the profitability of mining, GPU mining and CPU mining in 2025. So let's assume you're doing some mining or interested in doing some mining, perhaps part-time on your desktop CPU, desktop GPU. This is a claim from Cubic for the profitability of mining recently, and they're saying that their daily profits based on Ryzen 7950X is $1.51. This is about the highest I've seen, and this actually relates to what's known as dual mining. It's also possible to do GPU mining, and the fastest GPU, the 5090, probably you're looking at about 3 times this. So you can end up with $20, $30, $40 a week if you're doing CPU and GPU mining. Now, Cubic fortunately has gone up about 50-60%, sometimes even more than that, since the last video that I made in June. And that's something that never hurts. So the price fluctuations sometimes work in your favor, and in this coin, it's a lot more profitable than it was back in June. This is another coin which is GPU mineable. This is Zano, and Zano used to be fairly profitable. If we go back a little while, you can see it was about double the price it is now, and it was quite profitable at that point. Right now, maybe not so much. This coin is fairly popular. It has a privacy focus, and that seems to be quite popular in the crypto world. Another coin which has been mineable in the past, it is mineable now, it's GPU mineable. The price has gone down quite a lot, but if we go back quite a time back, there was a period of very high profitability back in, I think that was last year. And this is part of the story. So sometimes coins are very profitable for a period of time and then they become unprofitable. That's something to bear in mind. And it also means if you find something which is profitable, probably mine it for as much as you can before things change. Now, all of these are GPU mineable. I know that Cubic is CPU mineable, but when you combine GPU and CPU, that's when you can get really decent profits from your system. Even mining a few hours a week, well, not mining a few hours a week, mining a few hours a day, you can get pretty decent results. And the CPUs, generally speaking, I think are slightly more profitable than the GPUs, but that's just because of the enormous cost of the 5090, for instance, and also the energy costs, which are huge for the GPUs. Now, if you're like me, you did a bit of mining back in 2021 and things were very good. You would come to NiceHash, and it's still around, it's changed quite a bit. You would find out how much you would get in terms of profit for your CPU or GPU, and then you would decide which algorithm to use, set things up. You get a lot of warnings about viruses and all sorts of things from Windows. You would ignore those. You ignore the fact that NiceHash, one of the executives, has a criminal record and was just out of prison apparently when he went back to NiceHash. You would ignore all of that, and you'd make a good $5-6 a day mining on a 3070 or 3060. It was sweet, and they had a very nice operation where you would mine whatever currency, and then you would get paid in Bitcoin, and that worked out really well. Nowadays, if you want to mine, NiceHash is still there, you can use that, but you'd probably be mining a specific coin, and you would find out a specific pool that you probably join. And for Cubic, we've got Cubic Lee is probably the largest. This particular page here shows completely incorrect information. Cubic Lee is probably the largest. Then you've got, I think, probably Miner Lab. You try out different pools, because these guys here, for instance, 8-10% in fees. That's fairly high. Most of them are like 1-2%. But like I say, this is a fairly profitable coin, and you would choose whichever one you want to mine with, and then the results you get will change from one pool to another pool. And sometimes you'll find that they offer different features. Currently testing out triple mining with Cubic, and that's with one particular pool, and different pools can sometimes offer very different returns. Now, the ideal situation for mining in 2025 is to have this kind of setup where you've got a power wall or battery for power and you're powering that using a solar panel. Now this can really work well for you, especially if you're in the tropics and you don't have horrible weather like some countries do, and that can generate a lot of electricity. The mining is just going to be profitable. It's just going to be, you're going to plug in and make a profit from day one. But if you are sort of in a situation where you haven't got a power wall, you're gonna have to limit your mining maybe to the daytime, or you may have what I call the other solution, which is to be in a low electricity cost environment. And when you do this sort of thing, you really begin to understand just how much the cost of GPUs is principally the cost of electricity. So ideal situation, power wall and also solar cells. Solar cells would be this next best situation, and a very good economical electricity supply would be the third option. Electricity being very expensive, 2025 is going to make it very difficult for you. Now, some really interesting research from 2021. There was a huge surge in mining in 2020, 2021. You could make very, very fat profits, and there was then a GPU shortage. And it's a really interesting question whether the GPU shortage led to very good profits for GPU miners because they were in high demand, or whether the high profitability of GPU mining led to huge demand for GPUs, and then that led to the GPU shortage. This piece of research here looks at one explanation. It suggests that there was massive demand for GPUs coming from specifically, and we're looking at a number of different factories there that are just basically GPUs and ASIC miners. The source, you can see the chart here. This is Ethereum mining profitability, and it starts off going down until we get to 2020, and then in 2020 it just explodes. And the theory here is that the explosive increase in the price of Ethereum and the profitability of mining Ethereum led to a massive GPU demand. That then led to increase in the prices of GPU, and then that led to the GPU shortage. But you could put forward a case that there was a huge shortage of GPUs in 2020, 2021 because of the pandemic. This is some research from the Biden government, and they were finding that what was happening in the United States was that demand for GPUs went up from 2019 to 2021 by 17%, but the supply did not actually increase, and there was a major supply-demand mismatch. Another thing they found was that the inventory of semiconductor products, this is from businesses in the United States, had fallen from 40 days in 2019 to less than 5. So they were kind of cutting into their existing supply, into any stores that they had of semiconductors. And of course, this is the major component and the major cost in GPUs. And this diagram here shows you the inventory, 40 days down to 5 days. So this was happening in industry, but it was also happening in GPUs. Generally speaking, what was happening was that if you had a used GPU, the demand from crypto miners just exploded, and you could sell your used GPU for more than you purchased it. The 580s from AMD, they were selling for more than they had sold when they were new 5 years earlier, and ordinary GPUs, the prices exploded. They cost about 3 or 4 times their normal price. Now that situation may well be unique because we haven't had a pandemic, and it may be that you need these sorts of shortages to get the very high profits that we saw in 2020, 2021 for GPU mining. And maybe those days are sort of gone. Who knows, they might come back again in future.